Thank you for joining us for this episode of Black Tea. Our special guest is Sister Judith Muhammad. She will share with us the history of the Nation of Islam, where she was able to hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at the age of 9 years old. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Black Tea.
Welcome to Black Tea. We are here again to give you some enlightenment, inshallah, and some knowledge that will hopefully be useful to you. We have a guest today. Sister Judith is here with us. She is a pioneer in the Nation of Islam, M.G.T. and GCC. So Sister Judith can give us a little bit background about herself. And you came into the nation when, Sister Judith?
1969, I started attending the mosque, and I got my ex in 1970. So, and that was in Jackson, Mississippi. And then I transferred to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and now I'm here in Chicago.
And you're from Chicago?
Oh, yes, yes. I was raised here in Chicago. I went to Mississippi to visit my grandparents, and I met FOI selling the Muhammad Speaks newspapers. And so I had to marry him. And he brought me into the nation.
Look, I was like, and
yeah. Yeah, he wasn't having it no other way. It didn't matter to me at that point, but he was like, no, And he said I was a savage. He said, you got to be civilized. So you have to come into the Nation of Islam.
He fished you in and married you.
That's right.
Sister Judith, did he really say you were savage?
Yes, he did.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was insulted, because I was wondering, where he get off at saying that I was a savage, but he was right, because I had on hot pants. So, now I understand. I understood once I started reading Message to the Black Man and started going to the temple with him. I understood why he said I was savage. And he told me, you're half naked, and I was eating swine, so he just told me all about it, but I didn't care. I liked him, I thought, wow, this brother's different. And he was. There he was in Mississippi selling Muhammad Speaks newspapers all by himself, of course, with the help of Allah. But to me, that was amazing to see him walking around in that state. There was no temple in that area. It was a little country town. So there was no temple in that area. It took a lot of courage for him to do that. And that was impressive to me, aside from the fact that he looked good. But yeah, he brought me in. So.
What an...
Go ahead, sister.
I was going to ask, what attracted you to him? Because I was watching a video that Sister Larez recorded of you two, and you sharing, basically what brought you into the nation. So what at that moment in time of first seeing him attracted you to him?
He, of course, he was dressed. He had on a suit, bow tie, white shirt, and he had his papers under his arm, and he was walking down the street. I was downtown. He was downtown. And when I looked and saw him, I was like, that looks like a Muslim brother. Because coming from here, that's all, we saw was Muslim brothers with their papers and whatnot, and the little brothers as well. And I used to always buy the paper, from the brothers, especially the little brothers, because I thought they were so cute. And they would come up and let's see, how much was the paper? I don't know. I think the paper may have been a quarter or 50 cents, something like that. And I would always get one from the little brothers, even though they were with their fathers. I would purchase it from the son. And so when I saw him, I knew immediately that was a Muslim brother. And I was like, oh my God, a Muslim brother here? So I went across the street to get a paper off of him. And he looked at me, looked me up and down like, oh my God, And he said, here, you need this. Just insulting. And so I took the paper, gave him the money, and I went back across because I was with a friend of mine. She worked in what they call record shops. They don't have those things these days. And so I went back across the street to the record shop. And he was making his rounds, and he ended up coming into the record shop. And I was there. And I looked at him and I was like, wow, here he is, and I just knew he was following me. But of course he wasn't. And he sold a couple of papers to people in there. And then when I get ready to leave, I go to the cab stand to get a cab to take me home. And he comes up to get a cab to take him home. And there was only one cab. So we had to share the cab.
Wow.
Right. So he said, the lady can sit in the back. And he sat on the front with the cab driver. And then I got the chance to see where he lived, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is where he lived. And then the cab driver dropped me off. And my girlfriend had also met him, but I didn't know it. And she had invited him over to talk to some friends because he said he wanted to talk about, Islam. And so she invited him over to talk to some friends, and she invited me. And I was like, oh my God, here he is again, But that time I was dressed better. I put on some clothes. And so he said, ask who all wanted to go to the temple. And I said, I wanted to go, and the temple was like 90 miles away. Mm. And that's how we got started. I started going back and forth to the temple with them. And I was like, I'm gonna get this man, but I guess the hunter got captured by the game. Yes. So that's how I met him, yes, and how I ended up coming into the nation. I already had a brief run-in with the nation, as far as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I had heard him when I was 9 years old. And I think that seed that he planted burst forth, and it just kept drawing me to the nation because I had friends that would go to the temple here. But I was going to church because that's what we did. My parents, it was like you had to go to church or you couldn't stay in the house, you had to go. So they would go to the temple sometimes on Sunday. And then when we would get together, they would tell me how much they learned at the temple. They wanted to impress me, And I was, because when I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was in 1959. I was 9 years old. And when I heard him, I knew what he said was the truth. He was talking about deportation of the moon. I had had a conflict with my teacher about that. That very week, I had a conflict with her about it. We were having a test. And she said we had to name the seas and the oceans on the moon. And I said, but you said there was no water on the moon. So how can there be seas and oceans if there's no water on the moon? And she said, well, they just call it that because of the craters. And it appears that one time there may have been water there, but it's no water there and you have to answer the question correctly. I said, well, why don't they call it something else? Why would they call it seas and oceans? Why call it that if no water has ever been there? So she said, Judith, if you don't answer the questions correctly, you will fail. So I was like, okay, but that bothered me. And that Sunday, our pastor said, I rented the church out to Elijah Muhammad, to the Muslims. And they are going to be coming in this evening. He said, now, I don't mind you adults coming, but don't bring your children. You don't want your children to hear what this man have to say. And my parents was like, on the way home, they were like, my mother said, well, I'm going back because I want to hear what this man got to say. My father said, I want to hear what he got to say. So my mother said, well, we can't bring the children. So somebody's going to have to stay at home with the children. And my father said, you stay at home with the children. And my mother said, no, you stay at home with the children. I want to go hear what he has to say. So at dinner, they was back and forth and I was watching, because when he said, we don't want our children to hear what they got to say, I perked up, because I was like, why don't you want us to hear what he got to say? Even though I was a child, I was I was like, wait a minute, what's up with this? Why is it you don't want us to hear what this man have to say? He said, this man don't believe like we believe. Well, that made me want to hear it. So at dinner, I was going back and forth, My dad said he was going, my mother, I was like, what are we doing here? Finally, my mother said, we will go, we'll take the children and we'll put them in the playground and we'll leave them there. And we'll both go in. And that's what they did. When they put us in the playground, we were very obedient children. See, in those days, that was the fear of God, mother and father. Yes, ma'am. So when she said, stay in the playground and don't come out, she said, unless you have to go to the bathroom. She said, then go to the junior church. Do not go to the big church. Now, you only asked me one question. I'm just going on and on and on. But I said, we said, yes, ma'am. And I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the junior church, but some children was in there playing and they wouldn't let me in the bathroom. And I really had to go. So I went to the big church and it was packed. FOIs was all out front. I know that now that they were FOIs. They were all out front on the doors and everything. And I went in and I went into the side entrance to go to the bathroom, which was like off from the lobby. But we had a PA system in the bathroom. In those days, that church was the largest Black church in the city. So I go in, I'm on the stool, and he's speaking. And he's talking about deportation of moon. And he said about how this part was dropped down and that part was shot out and the waters, and it turned over and the waters from that part was dumped down onto this part, making this part 3/4 covered underwater. I said, that's why they call it seas and oceans, because there was water on the moon. Oh, I had to go in after that. I jumped down off the stool. I opened the door to go in and there was this giant, tall brother on post at the door. And I just squeezed in behind him and I came up to his knees. And he turned around and he looked down at me and I guess he said, well, she ain't no problem. Right. So he just let me ease on around him. But the place was so packed till I could not see the aisles, the side, the balconies, everywhere. It was just people more than we had ever had before. And I looked up at the ceiling and I could see lights moving when he would speak. So that was the reflection off of his fez, the lights, and it was just dancing on the ceiling as he moved his head. And that's what I watched. And I listened to everything he said. And when it was over, I eased back out and went to the playground, but I messed up. On the way home in the car, I just couldn't get over the fact that he used Reverend Rawls' Bible, because he didn't have his Bible with him. He used Reverend Rawls' Bible and he proved that we was not supposed to eat swine flesh. And I just could not understand why my mother was cooking us swine flesh when the Bible said we wasn't supposed to eat it. So I asked her, I said, why do you cook swine flesh, the pig, when the Bible say we're not supposed to eat it? I said, that man used Reverend Rawls' Bible to prove that we're not supposed to eat it. So why are you doing it? And she said, well, when that was put in the Bible, she said, that was before we was cooking food. I said, oh, okay. Then I thought about it. And I said, so was that before God invented fire? And she said, who told you to go in and listen to what that man had to say? And I knew I was busted. She said, you getting a whooping. And she did. Oh, she tore me up.
Oh.
And that was the beginning of my experience with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X.
Wow.
Yeah. Any questions?
That's beautiful. I mean, to experience that at 9 years
Right.
old.
That's why I know
you are now.
I know that I was supposed to be in the nation. I realized. Then Allah sent him to get me, sent Brother Larry to get me.
Can you expound on, because Sister Judith and I, we talk all the time, and she's always given me so many jewels that I can use. And anytime I have a question, I'm always able to just pick up that phone and call Sister Judith and get some answers that I may be in need of. But we had a conversation because Sister Judith is gifted with numbers.
Yeah, I do a mathematical study of the history of the Nation of Islam.
Can you expound on how that happened with you?
You know, up to 2013, I thought that it had come to me, been revealed to me in 1990, October 1990. I went to sleep and I didn't know how to do it. I woke up the next day and I could do it, a mathematical study of the history of the Nation of Islam. So I thought that it began in 1990, but in 2013, I realized that I had had an experience that I forgot or was wiped away from me. And it was, I was a teenager, me and two friends, the friends who used to go to the temple, two of them, Hilda and Gwen. And we had went to visit Hilda's boyfriend. And it was in the evening. So I know that it had to be a Friday evening. Now, the reason I'm saying I know it had to be a Friday evening is because we were not permitted out after 9 o'clock on school nights. So it had to be on a Friday because it was like 9 o'clock and we were on our way home. So we were standing on the bus stop and we were around Drexel and somewhere around the 50s. And the temple in those days was on 53rd and Greenwood. So we were standing on the bus stop and we were saying, this is going to be my car. You know, no, that's going to be my car. I want this car. You know, the game that we play with cars, you know, when you're a kid. I'm not sure. I'm probably was between 15, 16. I don't think I was 17. So I'm thinking it was between 15 and 16 years old. And this black, what I thought was a limousine, I'm thinking it was a Continental because it had the double doors on the side. And when you opened them like this, like a French doors, like that. And you saw movie stars riding in cars like that. And when they would open the doors and they would step out. So when I saw this, what I thought was, you know, a limousine, I was like, no, I want that car. That is the car for me. And my friend Gwen, she looked at it and she said, I think that's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I said, I don't care who it is. I want that car. And I pointed at the car. And then the car pulled toward us. And as the car was coming over to the curb toward us, the window started to go down. And Gwen said, "It is Elijah Muhammad." And Gwen and Hilda ran. And I thought that I ran with them. And I just thought that I ran slower than them. Because when I caught up to them, they asked me, "What did he say?" I said, "He didn't say anything." I said, "The window went down, then the window went back up, and the car pulled off." She said, "Well, who was in the car?" I said, "I don't know who was in the car." I said, "I didn't see nobody. Nobody said nothing to me. The window went down, the window went back up, the car took off, and I'm here with you." And they said, "But you were standing there." And I said, "I wasn't standing there." They said, "Yes, you were standing there. And he let the window down. What did he say to you?" See, he didn't say anything to me. My friend Hilda, she was a person that was always suspicious. She said, "What is it that you don't want to tell us that he said?" I said, "I didn't see anybody. Nobody said anything to me." I said, "I ran just like you did." And they said, "No, you were standing there." And they got like frustrated with me, and they were kind of like whatever, and they walked away. And so I walked on up behind them. Well, in 2013, December, I'm standing at the sink washing dishes, looking out the window, and all of a sudden, I saw that entire event. I had not even remembered that. I saw the entire event take place. And I turned my head and I looked to my left, which is the direction that they were in. And I saw them standing about a block away waiting for me. And then I ran to them. But originally, I thought that I ran with them, but I did not. So I lost time. At that moment, when that window started going down, I lost time. So in 1990, when I had this experience with the numbers, I thought that it was then, but in 2013, that came back to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, I lost time." So whatever the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to me, I did not remember it. He had it so that I would not remember it, because they were adamant that I was standing there at the car and the window went down and I was standing there for a period of time. So I lost time that night. So once I started doing the mathematics, I realized that that proved to me the divinity of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's how I got started in 1990. I was at home sitting at the table, and I was doodling. I was really trying to figure out how to steal from Peter to pay Paul with my bills. And all of a sudden, it was like inspiration, air just went like up in my face. And I was like, oh, I was like, wait, what was that? And I was doodling on the paper. And then when I looked down at the paper, I said, well, that looks like Prophet Muhammad. And then I started doing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Farad Muhammad, and Minister Farrakhan. And that was the beginning of the mathematical study of the history of the Nation of Islam for me.
And that's not easy to do, because I try to, Sister Judith tells me about the numbers and how they correlate with the three of them in the Nation of Islam. And sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't, but I know it's just a matter of time, before understanding will come. Mm-hmm. Did you all have any questions for Sister Judith?
We do have not in regards to what we've been talking about, but I do have a question if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I won't hesitate to tell you I can't.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I appreciate that. So I was looking at the interview or the recording that you did with Sister Larez, and you mentioned when she asked you about what do you shy away from as a woman, and you said that there is nothing really that you shy away from except things that you or shying away from things that you used to do it being in the world. I guess it serves no purpose. So my question to you is, how does that help you mentally to not go back to that place? And how do you avoid being triggered? If you do get triggered, how do you avoid being triggered, or how do you deal with those triggers once something does come to you and it reminds you of something that happened in the past before you accepted the teachings?
You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that when we come into the Nation of Islam, you know, that he gives us, the women, a clean new garment. And, you know, the Holy Quran says that Allah send down clothes. And it's in Surah 7, verse 26. Allah sends down clothes. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us a beautiful garment, clean, white, pure garment to put on. We take off the dead clothes that we wore when we were in the grave. And he brings us to life. So he said to us, why would you take that beautiful white garment and then dirty it up, talking about what you did in the dead world and in the dead life? So what we have to do is, the only way you're going to overcome that, the dead world, and it's pulling on you and all that you went through, that hurt, is through prayer, study, Holy Quran. That's what you have to do. And it has to be a constant effort, you know, over years or a period of time. You have to constantly remind yourself. When those things come into your mind, those painful, hurtful things come into your mind, you have to pray. That's what I had to do. I don't even think about the dead world anymore. Well, I guess because it's like over 50 years that I've been in the nation now. So I don't even think about the dead world, you know, but when I did think about the dead world, and I used to cry when I would think about it, I would pray. And after prayer, my spirit would be lifted. And you just have to make a conscious effort to continue to do that. That's what helped me, remembering not to dirty the garment that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had given to us, which is a new way of life. Why bring that dirt in on it?
I was listening to, the Final Call Radio. And I don't know the lecture, so I apologize. The minister during the lecture, he was trying to name something, but it was slang. And he couldn't remember what it was or didn't know what it was. And somebody yelled it out. And he said, "Oh, brother." He said, "You know, I'm so far from the world that I don't even remember that stuff anymore." And I'm like, whoa, how do you get far from the world like that? And that just, that was a mouthful when he said that. Go ahead, Sister Faye.
And I was going to ask Sister Judith, do you think that there has been like more of a struggle to get away from the world from during that time up until now? Just considering everything that's going on in the world?
It appears that it is more of a struggle now, because from observing the believers, but I don't know if it is because it's been so long for me, that my repetition, you know, or is that just something that they have to do to get them to the point where they can overcome that struggle? Now, when I first came in, honest to God, well, that's when I quit smoking. But see, I understand that now the stuff that they're putting on cigarettes make it much harder to stop smoking. Whereas then I just crushed the stuff in the toilet and that was it. I didn't go back. But today they're putting all types of chemicals on it. And I understand that it's very difficult to overcome smoking, you know, and from the smell of marijuana, my God, it's awful. You know, so I know they're putting stuff on it. You know, I walk through going into the store and you smell it in the parking lot, you know, and it's like, I didn't even know it was marijuana until my niece told me that's what it was. I thought it was a skunk, you know, that's how bad it smells. So they're putting something on the stuff to make it more of a struggle now. So you have to be determined that this is what I want. You have to know that this is divine. This is not, it's not a game. This is for real. This is actually the nation of God. We are walking in the nation of God today. And but it has to be made known to you. You have to accept that that's what it is. And that's why, to me, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. And it can be proven in no limited time. So to me, mathematics is problem solving. So if I run into a problem, I have to solve it. And when he said that Islam is mathematics, that means we have to study it mathematically, because that proves that it is divine. It proves the divinity of the nation of Islam, that Allah indeed came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad is indeed the exalted Christ. And Minister Farrakhan is the Messiah in our midst. And you have to be able to prove that to yourself and to others.
Praise be to Allah.
I have a follow-up question to Sister Faith's question about, more so how you answered the question about the garment. So what is the balance of not speaking on our past and with being transparent to serving our purpose? Because sometimes, I think I could leave it as that.
Not speaking on our past and being transparent to serve our purpose.
No, so like, what is the balance? Because we are told to share testimonies, what Islam has done for me. So what is the balance in that? So what's the balance of, like, don't speak on your past because you don't want to make the garment dirty, but then what's the balance of being transparent to share
what
your
Islam
stories
has done for you? That's now that's different from just speaking on your past. You can to say what Islam has done for me. It cleaned up my life. It saved my life. I was actually on my way to hell at breakneck speed when I accepted the teachings. Those teachings saved my life physically. How to eat to live, how to act at home and abroad, how to dress, you know, how to take care of myself and my family. All of those things, it changed my way of life. The testimony, that don't mean that you have to say, I was an alcoholic and it stopped me from drinking. You know, you don't have to say that. You don't have to say, I was a drug addict. I was on, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you put all of those things out there, people will use them against you. I remember the hate that hate produced. That was that my first time seeing Malcolm? I think Malcolm had came to my school. He had come to my school and spoke at my school first. Then I saw hate, the hate that hate produced. And the sister captain in number 7 had been arrested several times for prostitution. And she was now the sister captain. And the host of the news show, I'm thinking it was Dan Rather, I'm not really sure now. But he said, well, what about you? You was arrested several times for prostitution. And I remembered her face, how the pain that was in her face. Here she is on national TV, and he threw up in her face that she had been a prostitute. And
are you listening to the Final Call Radio? You should be listening to the Final Call Radio, where you will be able to hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan deliver an uncompromising truth 24 hours a day. Please listen to the Final Call Radio.
When he asked her that about her being said about her being arrested and being a prostitute, her face just dropped, her countenance, because she was like glowing and she was up and she was happy. And when he said that, it was like everything just drained from her. And Malcolm came to her rescue. He said, that's what she was. But look at her now. She's not that now. She's been cleaned up from that. So when I came into the nation and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about not bringing up the dead world about yourself. Now, if you got records like that and the enemy knows it, because he can look you up, then okay, you're not going to be able to run from that because he's going to bring that up on you. But if you don't have a record or anything like that, then you can share if there's something. But if you know that there is something that you was involved in that should not be shared, then keep that to yourself. Because if no one else is aware of it, then why should you make it known on yourself to be thrown up in your face later? And it will happen. And I experienced it. I shared with a sister something that I had been involved in. And she waited until I was in the middle of a group of believers to bring it up. And M.G.T, did this. So just because you say Assalamu alaikum, that don't make you a Muslim. So you're saying, how do you balance it? Being able to share. You share whatever you want to share, but know that if you reveal too much on yourself, it's going to come back. Know that. And that's what he means by dirtying your garment.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to also reference, because when you mentioned dirtying your garment, the way I interpreted was, after you say you believe and you accept the teachings and you start to strive in the way of Allah, then you go back to what you used to do due to whatever the case may be. Weakness is what I would say that it is. That's what I would consider to be dirtying up your garment. Would you say that that's also the same?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's also dirtying your garment, especially if you're going back, and especially if you're doing it with your garment on. Just like I said, you have on a garment, but yet you want to have 1 foot in the nation and 1 foot in the dead world. So, everyone knows that you're in the nation, but they also see you doing all of these things that they know is contrary to Islam as taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So yes, that's dirtying your garment as well. Anything that shines an ugly light on you is dirtying your garment.
Yes, ma'am. And this is my last question in regards to that. So I know you said be determined. You have to be determined and know this is what you want to do. So I would say, what if one is determined and they know that this is what they want to do, but for whatever reason they still have that one foot in the world? What would you say, or what advice would you give to that person in order to come out of it entirely?
Well, you can give people all the advice that you want to give them. But if Allah, what does it say in the Holy Quran? Allah will not change the condition of a people until they first change themselves. So you have to first make up in your mind that this is what you want to do. And if this is what you're going to do, you want to struggle, because it is a struggle. So you're going to struggle to do it. You won't be keeping that foot out in the world. You're going to pull that foot in with the rest of you. And you're going to do everything that you possibly can to overcome that weakness, shortcoming, and low desires.
I keep hearing Sister Ava say separation or death.
Yeah.
And that is beginning to look different to me. It's not just separating from this world, but you have to separate from that other part of yourself that means you no good,
which is the negative side of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Because when Allah says, I created you in the womb of your mother, one of you is a believer, one of you is a disbeliever. That's one person. You're in the womb, but there's two people in that womb. You have a positive and you have a negative side. So that's the believer and the disbeliever, the positive and the negative. Then you choose which way you want to go. You make your choice. And when you come out, however you are, that's the way you are. If you are positive or if you are negative, we have to remember, we still have that brown germ. We still have it. And it's a struggle to overcome it. So that's the negative side of us. And we have to work to overcome that. And it still is a struggle to overcome it. Minister Farrakhan is the only one that I can see that has overcome it within this dispensation of time. That's who I see. Everybody else, we got shortcomings. We got stuff we got to work on. But we keep on working on it if you want to, because Allah, the difference between us and Allah is Allah was able to take the negative and give it a positive end result. And that's what we have to be able to do. If we take that negative within us and give it a positive end result. I hope that was clear.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Any other questions?
I have a question on a different topic. So in the previous episode, we were talking about our signature and our creativity, referencing Sister Ava's book. And one of the things that I think about often are, pregnant women. So my question is to you, what does it personally mean to be a co-creator with God?
Oh, wow. That is to be God, a God. Because when we bring a child into this world, that's actually creating. And this is why I remember under the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you would reach 3 months, then you would go out on maternity leave. We don't do that anymore. And everything you did was focused on your womb and what you was actually creating. So you would study, listen to good music, study the Quran, study the Bible, all of the literature that we had, our lessons, everything that you was doing. And your husband was encouraged to handle you gently because you was making something. So when you're going through that process, everything that you are taking in is going in to what you are creating. And therefore, when it comes out, it is a reflection of what you experienced. I saw a sister, when she was pregnant, and she ended up going to jail while she was pregnant. And she cried and she cried and she cried all the time. And she had her baby in jail. And her mother took the baby. And that baby cried all the time. No matter, you change him, you bathe him, you feed him. The baby cried all the time because everything she went through went into that baby. And it was just to see, you see another sister who had a wonderful experience in her pregnancy and everything went well. And then you see the baby come out, quiet, peaceful, humble, So when I look at co-creator with God, that means you have to know that that's what you're doing, that you're creating. And not allow yourself to be abused, misused. Just get away from a situation that's going to damage your offspring. Our praise is due to Allah. I hope that was clear.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question regarding, thank you for that, because it took away a follow-up question. You answered both. Okay. But the other question is around prenatal nutrition. So like women get cravings and want to eat all crazy things. And I know it's not to say that today that it's not, that following How to Eat to Live is not being, like, people don't take it serious, or believers don't take it serious, but it seems to be harder than in comparison to what I hear about pioneers. So do you have any prenatal nutrition tips, especially for sisters who may their body may not be accepting the navy bean?
Oh, really? Oh, no. Because the navy bean was the main food that we ate, and I don't have any children, by the way, but the sisters that I was around, that was the main food that we ate was navy bean. So if you're not able to tolerate the navy bean, then I'm sure there's other means of protein, that you can get. But I just never heard of anybody not being able to tolerate the navy bean.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm sorry, this is Destiny. Go ahead. Okay. I experienced that with my first pregnancy. I couldn't stand the smell of navy beans. I couldn't eat it. I couldn't eat bean pie. It was just like, it made me sick. It just made me sick. So I really like that question because I was looking forward to that. However, my son, I love navy beans now. He can eat the navy bean, but while I was pregnant with him, I couldn't. And also with this pregnancy, the beginning of my pregnancy, I couldn't eat. It was just, I couldn't eat.
Well, yeah.
It was really the first trimester, the first 3 months. But the first month I had never experienced that. With my son, it wasn't like that. It was just, I couldn't stand the navy bean. But with this pregnancy, it's like, no, I could not eat. Even drinking water was terrible. So I was just thinking, I really liked her question because I wanted to know about that, even for myself as well. That was a struggle going through that first month. So
right. Well, yes. All I know is that the sisters mainly had fresh vegetables, fruit, fish. Usually it was the whiting H&G, and chicken. But mainly it was fruit, vegetables, and fish. that the sisters ate.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Faith, you have another question?
I have one more question, but it wasn't about the pregnancy. Was yours in response to that? Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Destiny. So, Sister Judith, this is my last question that I have written down for you. And I hope it's not a weird question, but to you, what is a woman? Like, considering that we all have different personalities, we all have our differences, but we do have that, maybe that one thing or whatever it is that makes us women, aside from our assets and being able to carry children. What would you say a woman is?
Well, now we do all have different gifts and different qualities. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we all in unity make Allah. So we are Allah, but only in unity. But we have different characteristics. This is why when you receive a name that's for you, it's different from a name that's for me, because we have our own different characteristics. So being a woman does, the only thing that we could say that unites us is our being co-creator with God. Just because I don't have children, that don't mean that I am not a co-creator with God, because I have helped other women which became my children. So a lot of sisters that have come in under me when I was M.G.T captain and that I nurtured, then right now they call me, you know. So it's like, those are my children. But still, we all are unique and we have to be treated uniquely. It's like a fruit. We say we're all a different kind of fruit, but the apple, you can just pull it off the tree and bite into it. But the pineapple, it takes work to get to that fruit in the pineapple. So it's more difficult to get to. So that's the differences. We're all like that, but we're all different kinds of fruit. Some of us, the fruit have seeds and we reproduce real fast, and some of us do not. So being a woman, we cannot say that just groups us all together, because we're all unique and we have different characteristics and we have to be treated differently. You have to treat a person, you have to study that person. And when you study the person, you begin to understand how they are. And you have to treat them the way they are. You cannot treat them like you would treat someone else. So because we are women, that does not make us the same. We are unique and different. Any other questions? I thought maybe somebody would ask me to prove something mathematically in the history or something.
Well,
I was going to ask what each number meant.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Sister Destiny, with your question.
You already asked the question.
Oh, okay. Well, the only numbers that I use are the ones that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us and Minister Farrakhan. I don't use the Kabbalah and all of those other numbers. My study is strictly with what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught. 1 is Allah. 2 is the messenger of Allah. He is second only to Allah. 3 is trial. 4 is foundation. 5 is justice. 6 is incomplete or dissatisfaction. 7 is love and heart. 8 is infinity. 9 is complete. And then you have the 0. But all of the other numbers are just multiples of the 9 numbers and the 0. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the 0 means nothing. He said that in the theology of time. And I thought it was so funny. He said, and 0 means nothing. But when he gave us the description of the number 10, he said 10 is the one God standing behind the nothing 0, making him 10 times greater than he was. So those are the numbers that I use in the mathematical study.
Beautiful.
Of the
Thank
history.
you for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind repeating 6? I know you said dissatisfaction and what else?
Incomplete. Incomplete and dissatisfaction.
Thank you.
So let's see here. Let's just do something. Do we have paper and pen?
Do you all have paper and pen?
Okay. All right, let's just do something. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to, well, Minister Farrakhan told us that when he first went to Savior's Day, February 26, 1955, he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had them to place him up in the balcony, and he had him to sit in front of Brother Joseph, which is Yusuf Shah. And he said, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking, the minister began to critique his speaking because the minister studies language. And he said that he was thinking, wow, he can't speak. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked up at him at that moment and said, don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say. So let's just use that as a backdrop. Don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad taught him for 3 years and 4 or 5 months. 4, 3, I got broken fingers, 3 years and 4 or 5 months. So when did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad meet Master Farad Muhammad? He met Master Farad Muhammad September 22nd, 1931. And now we're going to add to 1931 for 3 years. And that's going to give us September 22nd, 1974. So now that's September. So now he said 4 or 5 months. So let's count. October, November, December, January was the 4th month. The 5th month was February 1975. February 25th, 1975, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed. So Master Farad Muhammad taught him the entire time. He never stopped teaching him and guiding him. The Nation of Islam in the West, it's divine, and it can be proven in no limited time. Do you have it?
So I'm confused with the 5 months.
Why he didn't, because that's what confused me. Why didn't he know if it was 4 or 5 months? See, it was September.
It was 3 and okay.
4, he said 4, 3 years and 4 or 5 months. 4, not F-O-R, F-O-U-R. 4, that's the English language.
What were you saying to Sister Destiny? You thought it was?
Well, it doesn't matter what I thought. I just
Yes, it does.
no. You. It doesn't matter what I thought because I don't know. So you said 4 or 5 months.
For 3 years and 4 or 5 months. That's what he said. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This was he taught us in advance. That Master Farad Muhammad taught him for 3 years and 4 or 5 months. So instead of FOR 3 years, it's FOUR 3. 4, the number 4. And the number 3. And when you add the 3 years to 1931, don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say. 4, 3. The number 4, the number 3. Add the number 4 and the number 3, 4, 3 to 1931. That brings you to 1974.
I am not.
Huh?
I did not get that. 1931 plus 4,
4, 3.
that's 7, and I got 1938. So is my mathematics off? What I don't know.
43.
Yes.
43.
Don't listen to how I say it. Listen to what I say.
Oh. 4, 40. Oh, 43. Okay. All right now.
Right. So now you got it. That's Sister Destiny.
So I have that. I just
The 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. Well, I
can't see.
Oh. So I did what you said.
Okay.
But
and so the 4 months take you to January 1975. And then the fifth month take you to February 1975.
How did we get in 1975?
Because it was September 22nd, 1931 that he met. You added the 3 years to 1931. That takes you to September 22nd, 1974.
I see. So then you went.
Then you add the months.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So then that takes you to January 75 and then February 75. Now, my question was, why didn't he know if it was 4 or 5 months? Why didn't he know that? Exactly. Because he went into a coma in January and he was not sure if it was going to be January or February.
The
Honorable Elijah Muhammad went into a coma in January.
He went into a coma before the Master Farad Muhammad left him?
Oh, Master Farad Muhammad left him in 1934.
Right, but so okay, the way that I'm seeing this is you explaining it from the mathematical, the way I'm understanding it is that you're using the mathematical equation from the time that Master Farad Muhammad was teaching the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
From the time they made first contact when they met. Okay.
And then, so how did I get lost from from the coma? So now we're in 1975?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Ma'am. That's the coma in January 1975.
I see.
And
okay.
that's why
and
he
this
said
is before
4
his
or
departure.
5. Pardon me?
And this is now the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's departure.
Correct.
I see. Sister Faith, you have a question.
Sister
Faith.
Sister Faith is over here listening because I am confused and I'm just trying to understand. So I don't even have a question because I don't even know where to start.
Okay, well then we're going to go back, Sister Faith, because it has to be clear. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The date, and this is why it's so important to remember these things, because this is the date that they made first contact. Elijah Muhammad made first contact with Master Farad Muhammad, September 22nd, 1931. Okay. And then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us years later that Master Farad Muhammad taught me for 3 years and 4 or 5 months. So when you look at September 22nd, 1931, and then you add 3 years to 1931, 3 to 1931. That gives you September 22nd, 1974. Okay, we've got 9 minutes left, so I'll hurry up. So when you get to September 22nd, 1974, now you have to count the months. The 4th month is going to take you to January 1975. And the 5th month will take you to February 1975. February 25th, 1975, he departed. So he was not sure if it was going to be 4 or 5 months because he went into a coma in January 1975. And he came out of it in February, and then he departed in February. February 25th, 1975.
Came out of the coma.
Yes,
and then
departed, correct.
He didn't allow him to depart while he was
in the coma. No.
Wow.
He came out of the coma and departed.
That's deep.
Yes.
That's key.
Yes.
The the key in listening to the words.
Gotta do a clap on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You started though with the most honorable. Oh, I get it. I get why you took us back to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, seeing the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the first time. Because don't listen to how I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. That gave us the pretext to the mathematical equation. Thank you. That's very helpful, and it will give me something as I'm listening to the minister.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's right. All praise is due to Allah.
May I ask a final question? It's not mathematical.
Oh.
Is that okay?
I'll try.
But if you have a way to give us some more mathematical tips.
Okay.
So being the time that we're in, I was wondering, you weren't in the nation in the fall though. You were in the nation in the rise, because the minister.
I was in the nation when it fell.
You were? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. So what did you learn during the fall of the nation? And how has that prepared you for your upcoming examination, for the upcoming examination for us?
Sister, can you prepare for that?
Yeah.
Can you really? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad sent a tape to Pittsburgh through our minister, who is Imam Sultan's grandfather. He was minister sent to Pittsburgh by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So he sends us a tape through him, and he plays the tape for us. We all had to come to this special call out meeting to hear this tape from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he's telling us on this tape that he was leaving, that he was going to be gone for 3 years, and that while he was gone, the nation was going to fall. He said, you will not have a temple to come to. You will not have a school to send your children to. You will not have any businesses. He said, you will not even be able to study your lessons or pray. You will have nothing. And I'm sitting there listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say this. And he said, I'm coming back in 3 years. And when I return, you may not recognize me because I will not look the same. He said, but I'm not worried because my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. Now, I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm thinking to myself, what? We ain't letting nobody come in here and tear all of this down, all the work that we put in. Oh, no. But see, what I didn't realize wasn't nobody coming in. They were already in. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed, because he had already instructed us to look at, listen to, and go where he say go and stay away from where he say stay away from with the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, I just knew that Minister Farrakhan was the one to sit in the seat of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So on the Savior's Day, after the departure, the next day, I'm waiting for Minister Farrakhan to take over and straighten these people out, because they were messed up in the head, thinking that Wallace Muhammad was supposed to be over the nation. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had already basically told us it was Minister Farrakhan. And then it wasn't. And it was over. You can't prepare for that. I knew in advance because he had told us, but it still tore me apart. So I studied, I prayed, because I was waiting for him to come back, because he said in 3 years he was coming back. And he did. In 2 years and 7 months, exactly. You know, this is why I say Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam, and it can be proven in no limit of time. If you count from the time that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was called out, let me just reject this call that's coming in, because when you think about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was called out by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on July 30th, 1972. If you count from July 30th, 1972 to February 1975, you have 2 years and 7 months. And if you count from February 1975 to September 1977, you have 2 years and 7 months. 2, the messenger of Allah, the mind of Allah, the mind of God. And 7, the heart. Minister Farrakhan was from temple number 7. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that's the heart of the nation. Minister Farrakhan was the heart to keep the nation going until he could reconnect to the mind, the nerve, from the brain, to the mind of God. The heart continue. You can sever the nerve between the heart and the brain, and the heart will continue to beat on its own power, but at a reduced rate of speed. And it can beat long enough just to keep the body alive until it can be reconnected to that nerve. And that's exactly what took place in the Nation of Islam. 2 years and 7 months. The messenger and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he was disconnected in 1975, 2 years and 7 months later, he was reconnected in 1977, September. The Nation of Islam in the West is divine, and it can be proven in no limit of time.
Before you go, we apologize for the premature cutoff of this episode. What a way to end, giving us something to think about. Sister Judith, I do not recall meeting her in person, but her spirit, I was able to pick up on it in the episode, and I just really enjoyed listening to her. I could tell that she loves the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that she is going deeper into her studies, especially the mathematical part, which I definitely have to grow in. May we all pick up supreme wisdom and run to solve the problems, because we were given a problem book for a reason. And may we all learn something, multiple things from this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode. Listen to it again. And if you didn't get the chance, listen to it on YouTube. And then you have the opportunity to listen to just the audio version through multiple streaming platforms. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. And Sister Judith, if you are listening, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed
All right. That's Black T. Assalamu alaikum.